I don't know who's more excited to see Kage, me or Boji. Such a cute scene. It's like not even minutes into this episode and I'm already crying, but the sadness of this episode was all my faith in Domas just poofed. I have zero faith in Domas now. I don't even want to see him on the screen. It's sad because, like I said, I kind of like this perspective of always giving everybody the benefit of the doubt in this show, because obviously it's shown us several times we think one person's a bad guy, but they're a good guy. One person's a bad guy, they're a good guy. And I guess it's the reverse for Domas. As we got into episode 5, pretty much fully clarified our situation with Domas, and it sucks. At the same time, the heck happened in this episode? we basically got a I don't know, a Bose shake or something out of this whole situation. That was a very... We'll get into it, but yeah, this is my thoughts on episode 5. Let's jump into it. See, obviously up in this episode, we finally have Kage popping out of his bag. I didn't really think that it was going to be in his bag, but I guess that makes sense this entire time. He's been following him around through helping him from Boji's bag. So really cute to finally see him pop out. Obviously, Boji's excited to see him because he's been going through hell, and this one person that's his only ally, because obviously Domas isn't, finally comes out and says hi. It was such a good reunion because it almost seemed like Kage was like expecting that he'd be happy to see him. He just like pops out and says, "It's me, Kage." It's like, here I am, finally. But yeah, we get the perspective of, yeah, he was in his bag, so when the guy stole the bag, he pretty much just popped out and attacked him. Even that when he fell down the side of the tower, he was in the bag and pretty much moved himself to cushion Boji's fall. So even that far back, Kage's been in his bag, apparently. But yeah, we get the perspective that, yeah, technically Bebin gave him the mission to monitor Boji. He didn't specifically say that Bebin told him protect him or anything. He just said stay with him. And so he doesn't know what's in Bebin's mind, what Bebin's planning. But they obviously know that somebody is after Boji. And so from their perspective is, like he said, allies first, then enemies. So obviously who's attacking Boji, check your allies first before you start looking for the enemy in the area. But to finish Boji's side of this whole story, both Kage and Boji go down further, and he says something to the effect of, he's down there. We need to go down there. It doesn't really specify what Kage is saying they need to go down there for, but he's just saying we have to go down there because he's down there. My assumption is the person that he's talking about is Desher, which we met at the very end of the episode, which is seemingly the king of the underworld, because as they go down, they get surrounded by some gas. We find out later on that this is a cursed gas, and it doesn't necessarily affect Boji or Kage because, as we find out from Desher, these two are already cursed. Which I kind of assumed Boji was, because I think they implied already that obviously he's a son of a giant. I didn't really know that it was going to be a giant, because technically the source of his power wasn't really completely 100% clear. As I said before, I assume that possibly some of his power came from the fact that a demon was inside of him. It doesn't necessarily seem like that's the case, as they kind of get into some really weird stuff with Daida this episode. But anyways, the idea was, I think at some point they pointed out that Boji was prevented from using his full potential. That he is technically the son of a giant, but he doesn't have the strength of a giant because something was put upon him. And now we find out it was a curse to keep him from having his giant powers. And on Kage's side, it says something to the effect that, yeah, obviously he's from the Shadow Clan, but that he is, he's met with a divine disfavor. So I don't know if that's insinuating that because his whole clan was hunted down, it's sort of a curse, or if specifically somebody put a curse on him of disfavor, which I'm assuming that we'll find out later on, or like I said, if it's an aspect of an after effect of what happened to his clan, that it's considered a curse. But yeah, that's when this Desher guy wakes them up and he's like, hey, you're the son of Bosse, right? So I guess we'll see what comes of that in the next episode, but really interested to see where Boji goes from here. From Domas' perspective, obviously, again, he pushes Boji off. I forgot to mention that, yeah, one of the other things they revealed that Kage was protecting Boji from was the thing that everybody was kind of insinuating or predicting last episode. I kind of mentioned this in my comments, like, I recorded my impressions last episode, and then I went to go edit it, and it dawned on me, yeah, technically the meat was probably already poisoned. But yeah, Kage reveals that yes, he protected him from eating poisoned meat, and that was the daggers that hit the meat and knocked it away. So obviously revealing that, yeah, Domas tried to poison him at first before he pushed him off the cliff. So again, Don't like Domas at this point. But that was a sad thing, because like I said before, I wanted to give Domas the benefit of the doubt, and I assumed that it was a case where when he went out there to look for Bebin, he was basically told at that point, hey, you need to kind of make Boji disappear for a little bit, just so that he's protected. No, as we see from Domas's perspective this episode, that yeah, he came before Daida after the whole elections for Daida to take over the kingdom. And that was the point in which Daida... This is cool because, like, I don't like Domas, but I'm still holding hope for Daida. I'm still holding this a little hope for Daida. But I don't think this scene really gave me a positive. At first, it seemed like it was a positive, but it wasn't a positive. Because in this scene, he obviously reprimands Domas. He says, I heard that you'd voted for me. And he's like, oh, how'd you find that out? He gets angry. Daida gets angry at Domas and says, how could you betray Boji? He was your pupil, and you betrayed him. I thought that we could have a thing. I wanted you to be my right-hand man, but you betrayed my brother. I thought this was going to go in the perspective of, because you're so willing to betray Boji, how do I know that you're not going to betray me? But no, it was all manipulation. So I'm like, never mind. Never mind. I thought this was a chance to redeem Daida a little bit more, but no, he was angry at him to manipulate him. So in the end, it turns out, well, I can't trust you anymore. Well, what can I do to regain your trust? Well, now that you mention it, go take out Boji. And that was the route that he was taking. It wasn't a frustration that somebody betrayed his brother, because they're all betraying him. It was because he wanted to manipulate him to push him to take out Boji, which sucks. It sucks. Like I said, I want everybody to have those redemption arcs like, Healing had. That was so fantastic. So yeah, Domas pushes Boji off the cliff, wanting to kill him. He still seems to have some sort of regret. Like it still bothers him, but not enough that I'm gonna find him redeemable. Even as at this point when he's leaving, Hokuro confronts him and says, "Where's Boji?" And he's like, "Well, he's gone." And then obviously Hokuro connects the two and says, "How could you do that?" And goes to strike him. And yeah, Domas accepts an attack, allows him to cut his arm off or his wrist off or his hand off, and then knocks him out. So it's like, yeah, you're trying to redeem him a little bit, but I don't know. He's going to have like a sacrifice survival thing. Like later on, Boji is in danger and Domas jumps in front of a sword or something for him. Because it's just not, it's not working. You can lose a hand. I don't care. You still willingly killed Boji. So that's where they leave Domas. I've given up on him at this point. He can try to do something later with him. And of course, the other side of this whole story was Daida. Daida taking the mirror, going down into this chamber where apparently his father's at. And that's where he asks what the mirror is. Because the mirror obviously knows where the father's at. Obviously, the mirror has information that's interesting. And so he asks what the mirror is. And the mirror says, "I'm a sworn ally of your father. I share his joys and his sorrows." Mother? like, are we hinting at this is Boji's mother? Now, that's a very telling statement. Sharing joys and sorrows of somebody indicates something to the effect of a marriage. So this hints heavily that the person in the mirror, or the mirror itself, is somehow a reflection or the existence of Boji's mother. Because obviously it's not Daida's mother. Daida's mother's Healing. It might be Boji's mother. But the only thing that I kind of question here is, why would she be doing all this for Daida if she was Boji's mother? Because everything she's putting into effect puts Boji at a disadvantage. It puts Boji in danger, threat of death. And now you can claim that everything she's doing is to bolster up Daida to strengthen Boji, but that's like super plot armor to Boji. Like, it's assuming that Boji will survive everything, and that's a little hard to think of. Technically, we've had times where the mirror says everything's according to plan. It all follows this prediction that the mirror has, so it might be a thing where the mirror, as the mother, knows everything will end up well, but it's, like I said, it's too heavy plot armor for me to follow. Even though, like I said, it's heavily, heavily indicating some sort of marriage to Bose, King Bose. Because it's joys and sorrows, sharing, it's a marriage thing. Or it could just be, maybe it was somebody in Bose's past with the mother that liked Bose, but the mother, it was like that that unrequited love, the one that loved King Bose, but Bose went with this person who is Boji's mother. Because they did technically show one other silhouette inside of this frozen chamber that I think was a female. It could have been the mother. Because yes, as Daida gets down there, there's two guys who apparently are servants of Bose as well. They open up this chamber, and it's a big frozen chamber of all these beasts and stuff. And like I said, as Appius comes in there as well, he sees, or you see this little silhouette before it kind of cuts away. But yeah, this is the weird part. This is the weird part of the episode. I'm like, what are they doing here? What's going on? What is this process they're doing? So apparently, yeah, King Bose, his body, after he passed away, they immediately took it down here and froze him. And so as Daida comes in here with the mirror and these two servants, they drop him inside of a big bucket that has a blender in it. It blends him up, goos him out of this little hole. They put it in this ball. They stick this ball on a chamber, in this chamber on a chain. They turn on all these mirrors that reflect the light onto this ball. It heats it up. They drop it in the water. They crack it open. There's an egg inside. The egg hatches. A bird comes out, grows, spreads its wings, goes to attack Daida. They pin it down, throw it in this. They chop its head off, or throw it in this chamber, chop its head off, and set fire to the body. Pick up the head, pour out the blood inside of this cup, and say, "Here you go, bon appetit." What? How do we... No, they also had, technically, it was mixture of his marrow with a potion that the mirror made. So that, too, it was a weird little ritual scene. I don't know what to think of that whole situation. But it all comes down to... I think that they called the bird's blood was the holy blood, and the thing they got from the bird's burned corpse was the jewel of resurrection. But anyways, it's all that mixed together makes a super, I guess, protein shake for Daida. But the mirror tells him, drink it. It's going to give you the strength of your father. And as he's going to drink it, the mirror's kind of cackling a little bit, and he stops and says, "No. I'm going to do this by my own strength." He kind of recalls the words of Bebin and this idea of gaining your own strength and not relying on others. Don't give in to deception, all that kind of stuff. So Bebin's words kind of come into play to affect Daida to realize, no, I got to do this by my own strength. I can't rely on my father by this, as he said, this little shady ritual that we just did in order to get this weird shady liquid to drink. I thought they were going to force him to drink it, but he ends up like fighting off the two servants, and then he throws the stuff on the ground. So I guess it could still happen. Like, I don't know, somebody's going to shove his face inside the stuff and force him to drink it. He was asking if somebody else would drink it, and she's like, no, only somebody of the blood of the king can do this. But obviously, Appius is showing up, so... big question marks there. I will say, and this kind of goes into my prediction, the idea that the mirror might be not Boji's mom, but this other person that loved Bose before Bose chose Boji's mom, that this potion that they created, because obviously the bird, which technically it looked more like a phoenix, the phoenix kind of symbolisms, this rock that came out of this thing of resurrection, that this all is a big ritual, and including the cackle from the mirror. If the mirror is like this obsessive lady that obviously Bose didn't choose, this whole process might be to resurrect Bose inside of Daida. Like, I've lost him. This is my way of getting him back, is by doing this whole ritual to create this phoenix that creates this stone that makes this, you know, unsettling looking drink that Daida can drink to bring Bose back into Daida. I don't know, Appius might like that. He might actually like that. You know, what if the mirror tells Appius, hey, look, I can bring him back. This guy that you looked up to, that you served. My kind of predictions right now is because they were so showing emphasis on Appius showing up, that it's kind of giving the hints that Appius is going to show up the next episode. He's going to probably attack Daida, because Daida, he doesn't see Daida as the king. Appius still doesn't believe that Daida is the king. I think it even kind of insinuates that a lot when Bebin confronts him to attack him. He basically points out, no, Boji is king. Boji was meant to be king. So he, from his perspective, attacking Daida is not attacking the king. Attacking Daida is attacking somebody who's on the throne improperly. somebody who has stolen the throne. And so technically Daida is an enemy of the kingdom through and through. So I can see Appius coming in here and attacking Daida. So I think it's probably going to be Appius comes in there, attacks Daida, you know, tells him that he's not the sworn king. He needs to get off the throne. I'm here to correct things. And then Daida's probably, in his defeat, going to drink it off the ground. Like some droplets of it that's on the ground. Maybe it will give him only partial strength. Maybe it'll give him just enough to rise up. Like just a fraction of Bosse's strength is probably enough to take down Appius. And obviously Daida is not a weakling. He's very good with a sword. Obviously he almost took out Damas. Or maybe the mirror just caused some magic to bring together the liquid to give it to Daida. But I think Appius is going to be the force to push Daida to drink the stuff when he wasn't going to originally. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the episode. A lot of crazy stuff in it. It is kind of one of those moments where I'm starting to get that feeling kind of like Mushoku Tensei, where the episodes are going by way too quick. They don't feel like full episodes, but a lot of great stuff in here. Finally getting Kage showing up to Boji. That was fantastic. Finally getting pretty much a clear picture on Domas and not really having a question to him anymore. Like I said, gone. I don't have faith until the writer decides that they want to do something with him. And yeah, the crazy blender king shake stuff. But yeah, as usual, excited for the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed my impressions. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what's thought of the episode. What'd you think of the king protein shake thing? Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon or through the tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.